Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our 5th edition of the Mocap Content Creator Conference. I'm Alan van der Laak, a Senior Account Executive in Entertainment at Xsens. I've been with Xsens for almost 4 years now, and this year I have the honor of hosting the MCCC. Today, we will hear from 5 incredible speakers, each with a unique journey into motion capture, sharing stories of exciting, inspiring projects they have created, all with Xsens by their side. We're hosting this year at het Nieuwe Kader, known for its state-of-the-art production setup. And at Nieuwe Kader transport you to any location imaginable, seamlessly blending real-time 3D environments with green screen technology. Later today, Niels Bosch will share some behind-the-scenes magic of het Nieuwe Kader. So let's jump in with our first speaker, Ronald Kayima. From Clan of the Kings, Ronald is a creative director and a self-taught expert in Unreal Engine coding and game development. And together with his studio Clan of the Kings, Ronald has brought African folklore to life through their incredible game, Sunyata. So please welcome Ronald. The stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ronald Kayima. I am the co-founder and creative director of Clan of the King Studios, which is located in Kampala, Uganda. And I guess today I'm here to talk about storytelling, African storytelling, to be precise, using Mocap. And I'll tell you, it's been quite the journey and something that has become very dear to everyone here at the studio. We're not a big studio. We're fairly small, but we do love this space and we love it a lot. So basically, I think let me get started with the presentation, sharing it with you guys. Okay, can everyone see it? Yep. Okay, let's get started then. So African storytelling through Mocap. So I guess let me start with how our studio came to be. Around 2016, we made a transition. Before that, we were a comic book studio. We really loved creating stories, and a lot of the stories that we worked on were very much based on African mythology and African, heroes, just anything that was of interest which surrounded the African lore. And I came across one of our business partners, and he challenged us. He's like, "Can't we make a game?" And in that moment, actually, I had no idea how to make games, but because it's something that from when I was very young, I really wanted to do. I love playing games, obviously, but it's something that I said, you know what? Yes, we can. And then I went to my very long-term friend and business partner called Philip and said, hey, how do they make games? Like, what's the process? And that's when we got into Unreal Engine and YouTube. YouTube was the source of all of our learning. So about media in Africa, I think Africa is probably the youngest right now in terms of joining most of the mainstream, media industry channels. I think for a while we have taken the back seat and watched and not participated, but you also see that changing very fast. And the youth are very driven, people coming out with all sorts of content. Obviously, TikTok is helping, but also from an animation and game point of view, you see a lot of studios coming up today, and this is quite inspiring to see personally for me, because I remember when we started, we were one of the few. Well, not the few in terms of mobile phone gaming, because those were there, but the few who were attempting to create something on a more photorealistic level. Since we started, you see a couple of individuals also coming up with their projects, and I just love it, and because we were one of the few before, I think it's very safe to say that there wasn't a lot of access to the traditional means to create games, animations, in the way the Western world was. And this should have been a bad thing, but I like to tell people it created a different type of individual. It created people who now think outside the box. So you have people looking for ways to change, I guess you would say, to change their approach to certain tasks and certain problems. And this is where I would say Africa is at right now in terms of our media industry. So, the birth of a new era. I do believe right now, because of the interest to create content and create, things in 3D or animation game, you have to look at it just plain and simply, do we have what it takes? And I have to say, we do. We have the storylines, and that's the first step. You're talking about 54 countries. Each country has its own number of tribes. Each tribe has its own creation story, usually. And, that there's so much content just in that. There's so much that you find can be used to create a new superhero, a new main character, a new, multiverse, even, if you wish to go in that route. And that is something that I don't think should be ignored. And this is why I think I see a lot of the younger African generation now moving forward towards trying to tell their stories. Another thing to note is that the technology exists. Everything that we need to create what we would want to create is now available to us. And in this, personally for us as Clan of the Kings, we found Mocap to be one of the most vital things that we could have in our studio. And this is just because animation was always something we suffered with. We found a lot of workarounds to everything else. We created our own kind of pipelines. Big love to Revolution and their team, because their pipeline really helped us with a lot of the things where we were lacking. And I have a great 3D artist, Hannington Chisembo. He's just crazy. He does insane things. But we never really had a solid animation team. And most of the people that we would talk to were not confident enough, I would say, to take on the task. And this is where eventually I remember one morning, I think I was so stressed about it, and I do my usual morning routine is to watch YouTube videos on everyone who's like making games and the new upcoming animations. It calms me down. So I remember I was watching, and there was this little advertisement kind of link thing, and it was like the Xsens thing. And we'd already gone through a couple of motion capture suits, and not great suits, but they were not very durable. And there was this advertisement of this, I think we've all seen it, the lady dancing in the shipping container thing, and it just hit me. I'm like, wow, that is exactly what we need, because that was what we're suffering from. being an indie studio, being in Uganda, there are not that many places where you can actually perform your motion capture. So you just only can use what you have. And we saw like if we could get a motion capture device that could actually handle our type of environment, then all of our problems are solved. And that's how we got into the motion capture technology. Next, I'll talk about the combined efforts between actors and mocap, which I think is vital. Personally, I remember the first time we got the motion capture suit, the first thing we did obviously was put it on, and we attempted to we attempted to just do everything ourselves, and we only got so far because at some point we did realize after you act it out and you look back, it just wasn't hitting home, and actually amazing work from Ace who spoke before me. Like when I see that, you really get to see that it is a necessary thing for media to collaborate together. And from an African point of view, we're very theater based. If anyone knows anything about Uganda, we still love theater so much. And this kind of opens up also a new door for actors here to thrive and create new jobs and new careers. And so it's really been incredible to work with people on some of the work that we're doing for the game and also the animation for the game. And so, I think that answers everything mostly, but why mocap? And as it says on the presentation, it saves time and it saves us money. The first time we paid for animation, being a small studio, it was a lot, and it was just for one character, but it almost blew our entire budget that we had, and it wasn't enough, So at the end of the day, I see mocap as a very strong answer for any upcoming indie studio. If I always say if I have any regrets in the beginning, it was spending a lot of the money on other things rather than just going and getting a motion capture suit that works for you. So here you can see some of the images of our main character in Sunjata. His name is Ka Menelik. Ka is a name we created both Arabic and from some old African text. Kaara is his full name. We just shortened it in the studio as Ka, but Kaara is bringer of rain. And also we use the term Ka because of it's a two-letter should I say word sound that is involved in the original name of Africa, which is Alkebulan. So it means a lot to us. And Menelik, why I chose Menelik as his surname is because of one of the first kings, the Aksum king, which I guess you would call the Habesha people today, Ethiopia, Eritrea. But I just always loved reading about that time in African history. Ka is a demigod, and I really love reading on African deities because you kind of come across so many cool stories. Like one of my favorites is Shango, who is a deity but also started off as a king, and the tale is every time he stepped onto the battlefield, thunderstorms would appear, which I always found cool. So, taking into all these aspects of our mythology, which you don't hear too much about. Most of the focus is usually like Egyptian mythology, and that, but there's so much more. So that is the that is the birth of Sunjata. Sunjata is born from the stories of kingship, magic, and just history of all the cultures combined. Challenges. Now, challenges is wow, it's been I, I can't say all the challenges. I can only say there have been many, but let's just go with the main ones. Um, so African creativity being put in the backseat. It might sound harsh, but that's just only the way how I can probably put it. Because when I look at the amount of comic book artists, writers, filmmakers, animators, just basically creators in general, when I look at the number that I know just in Uganda alone, it's something that is shocking that there's so many with really good stories. I'm not just talking about the ones who just like say, "Oh, I'm a creator," but people who are actually doing really good stuff, like really good work. It's crazy. It's crazy that there's so many, and I just feel like there's not enough tapping into that. Just generally as an international industry, and I would like to see that. I think that has been a challenge for us too. What I mean is, when we were starting to create Sunjata, you have some people unaware of your existence. Like one of the people we dealt with actually asked us, "Why are you guys hiding your content?" And we didn't think we were. We were posting it. We were doing the most we could to put it out there. Website, YouTube channel, everything. But it's just there seems to be like not enough spotlight yet, and we're hoping this changes over time. Not even hoping, I actually believe it will change. Just I think there are certain steps that have to be taken for it to really like blow up. Another challenge I would say has been obviously like a clear lack of a clear oh sorry guys, lack of a clear channel to viewership and monetization. And this is something that I've seen mostly with gamers in Africa, like here in Uganda. I see it's very difficult to get certain licenses to stream, and just it's not easy to get your stuff out there. But this also now comes down to I think what the main problem is, which is slow production. I think slow production creates a certain, should I say, lack of faith to deliver. Lack of faith to deliver, and I would also say probably it kills the motivation of the people who are trying to create work. And in the long run, what happens is an industry just fails to produce. And as it fails to produce, it just fails to hit that right spot to really go viral and really, expose the art that's being created. But now this comes to the solution that I believe in, and I think the solution is and it might sound, a bit much, but I think the solution is Mocap. I think high quality animation at a very high speed will push a lot of these newer content creators to just keep pushing content out and pushing it out until it's just a flood and a tsunami. And before you know it, there's all this talk about like the new African wave in media. And and that brings us to just, it's an endless well of opportunities. I say this all the time. African stories told through all types of media, as I've put here, song, music, folklore, chants, dance, riddles, proverbs. I think it would be impossible for the next wave due to the availability of now a motion capture production pipeline, I think it would be impossible to say that there will not be an African wave of movies, games, animations, or whatever. It's just bound to happen, you know. And my uncle actually likes to say, consistency of persistence, and you'll get there. And I think we have all the tools necessary to see that through. And here you just have a couple of Hannington's works. You know, he's really good at what he does. And let me just close this with seeing if the video will play so that you can just have an idea of what we've been up to. So this is a trailer. I hope everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. No. Okay, good. So this is a trailer to an animation, 20-minute animation we made using the Xsens Mocap suit based on our upcoming game Sunjata, Trumpet of Last Day. We named this animation Sunjata, Heart of the Monster. And you can find it on YouTube. And this was done between 2 and 3 months of work. This is how fast we just like found working with the mocap suit. It was insane. I think after we were done, we all kind of like didn't know what to do next. We were kind of just a bit confused because of how fast the process went. You know, it was just incredible. But yeah, I guess that's me. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them.
That you have done. From hearing your story, it is all about not only the value of having mocap to save resources and time, but it also comes with the passion that you put into this, all the work that you put into this, the challenges that you have, and overcome it. As things are sometimes not working as you would like to have, right? So thank you for keep pushing, making sure that this game will be live. So thank you for that. Yeah, we can definitely look into some questions. People, the audience, if you have questions that you would like to ask, then please fill it in. I got a question from Mike. Thank you, Mike. Stunning work and very relatable, as I am also currently working on an animated feature based on Africa folklore. Nice. Who is your core target audience, and do you ever get to struggle with balancing between creating what is most suited to your local audience versus a global audience?
We thought so at first. At first, because our target audience first we thought would be Africans, because we thought, okay, they would mostly relate to what we're talking about. But then around, I think Black Panther came out around our second year of development. And then we saw how everyone reacted to that. It was like, oh, so people would like an African, themed storyline. So then we kind of now broadened our perspective and said, yeah, you know what, let's just put it out there for an international reach. And you can only tell after, really. You just have to take the leap. And has it ever been a struggle? I would say only in the beginning, but no, not anymore. Yeah.
Cool. From top down, Ace, is your vision to also shine a light on animation production from Africa?
Pardon, say that again.
Yeah, is your vision to also shine a light on animation production from Africa?
Yeah, big time, big time. I mean, we just did our 20-minute animation based off the story of the game. It's an animation of its own, and we've actually been thinking about trying to turn that into a series. And this is just, I guess, extra information. Um, how like our country is also warming up to the idea. Ever since we did that 20-minute animation, we've been in talks with our government to start an incubator based on motion capture, actually, to create more content. And yeah, that's I think the amount of growth animation is having in Africa is large. You just had Disney release 2 African-based animations. You got, I think also, I was reading the news, and Idris Alba is planning to put up something in Zanzibar, and I'm sure animation will be growing off that as well. So yeah, I would love to shine animation as well. I mean, I'm just pro mocap at this point, so everywhere where I can use it, anytime I can put one of my guys in the suit, I'm very happy to.
Cool. George, Emmanuel, amazing work. What kind of support do you have to make it happen? Is your government helping? Private investor? How can I participate if he would do that the same?
Well, a lot of the time we've been doing it ourselves. We're a small team, but we're dedicated, and this has brought an extra partner in who did help us with some finances to keep it going. And right now, the government only got involved very recently, but not really with the game, because they want to solve the general problem, which is just the industry as a whole. But anyone who's willing to participate and come in, we're always welcome. I'm always trying to work with as many people as I can, whether it's Sunjata or other people's games. I just love the space. Like I said in the beginning, I love doing this. And I think what has kept us going beyond finances is just the fact that we want to see this happen. We believe in it so much that we do care obviously about the finances, gotta pay the rent, but but we do think that this is something that could explode and be extremely amazing.
Yeah. So that's the government. You also mentioned incubators. Do you have a certain
Yes.
idea of how long it will take before Africa has more animation production? This is also a question coming from Ace.
I would like to say it won't take very long, based on the conversations I have with the people that I know. I think right now it's not really about the animation production, but more about the spotlight, because there's so many productions actually in the works right now. That's why I do think there will be like this tsunami, this wave of African content coming out. It's just something like, if you're introduced to the right circles, you will find that there's so many productions that it just needs the right spotlight, or should I say the right platform.
Yeah.
So I do think Uganda, I would say by next year, based on the incubator, by next year into the 2026, there will be a lot of content coming out of here. So
Nice.
I think very soon.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Got a question from Colette. I noticed you use iClone. Did you utilize the live motion, live Xsens profile, or did you stick with the classic FBX export import method?
So we stuck with the classic FBX method, only because I forgot to buy the Xsens profile. But I would have preferred to use the live, obviously. But we use the FBX, but it still isn't that difficult. It's still a beautiful pipeline. It's still beautiful for when we're using it. And I think the collaboration between Xsens and iClone is just something that I am addicted to, and it has not failed me this far. And so we did use the traditional FBX.
Okay. A nice question from Sophia. Amazing character design in your game. Very inspiring. What
Thank
other
you.
African game development or animation feature projects that are currently in production that you want to bring more light to?
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, okay, so obviously there's Orion, I think Legacy of Coriodan. Excellent game. I think you can find it on Steam. There is a team in Cameroon, Join Play Games. They have Afro Warriors, which is a mobile phone fighting game using African gods, which I think is pretty cool. And they have another game coming up, not yet out, but it's called Quest of the Stolen Spirits, which I think is fantastic. It's every time I see his work posted, I'm always in awe. I mean, you got I think it's called Boyke Fighter. I'm pronouncing it probably wrong. It's a South African game, and I like that one because like two bros in the bar who go on this like fighting journey, and it's kind of like Double Dragon or Streets of Rage. So I think they're like, I don't know, man. You know what I would say? I don't know if any of you have ever done this. Just type African games or African comics, and you will see like so much that you've probably not heard of, and just give it a try.
Cool. Last question for you, Ronald. Again from Ace. Are you and your team self-taught in animation, and is everything done in Africa, or do you outsource post-animation?
So we are all self-taught. I can never emphasize this person enough. I think Hannington Chisembo is God sent. His work is insane, and he is an absolute geek, and I love it. And he taught himself. When I found him, he was doing concept art for Sunjata. So I was paying him to do concept artwork for Sunjata. And then I think it was on the third day he showed me. He didn't show me actually. I saw him post something, and it was a bike. And it was a bike in so much detail, down to the last screw. I asked him, I'm like, hey, as an artist, do you feel comfortable posting Google work, like other people's work, without crediting it? Because he just posted it. And he's like, no, that's my work. And I said, no, it's not. I really refused to believe him until he had to come to the studio with his laptop and show me his work. I have never seen someone self-taught to that level that I was self-teaching, but it pushed me further. Seeing what he could do, I knew I could go further, and I knew if he can do that, then you can really do anything that you want to if you just put your mind to it. In terms of animation and outsourcing, when we started, we outsourced work to anyone who has ever bought anything from the Unreal Marketplace probably knows this guy. He's Frank Climax. Makes amazing combat animation. So we did outsource to him in the beginning, but there's something about when you have your own animations, and this is what drove us to motion capture. This is what drove us to Xsens suit. It's that African law must have African fighting, and that's Mantu, that's the Senegalese wrestling and all that. It's even here in Uganda, we have our own kind of like martial art. It's not talked about a lot, but Echigo is something. It's like a wrestling type of martial art. So we thought, you know what, we need to do it here. We need to do it with us in the driver's seat. And even if his animations look cool, we just cut it all off. We removed all of his animations from our game just because we wanted it to be authentic.
Cool. That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Ronald, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome talk. Very, very inspiring. A lot of passion in it. So thank you for sharing that. I guess we are heading to our second presentation. So that will be Niels Bosch. So Niels is our talented 3D VFX artist, and he's the co-founder of actually the Nieuwe Kader. Het Nieuwe Kader is the very studio where we are holding our most MCC hosted here this year. And after studying 3D animations and visual effects, Niels co-founded het Nieuwe Kader with Berko Mulder in 2015. And together they have pioneered motion capture, continuously pushing the limits of technology. So today, het Nieuwe Kader is the leader in motion capture and virtual production, proudly partnered with Xsens, Manus, Asymmetry, HTC, and Revolution. Welcome, Niels. How are you doing?
Very good.
Good.
Thank you very much. Cool introduction.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah,
so I guess the stage will be all yours.
Thanks. I'll do my best.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, everyone. My name is Niels Bosch. I'd like to welcome you all to our virtual studio here at het Nieuwe Kader. Almost 10 years ago, my awesome companion Berko had the genius idea to start building a green screen studio here in the eastern part of the Netherlands. And at that time, I was still trying to graduate at the Art Academy, studying 3D animation and visual effects. Together with my two classmates, Jonathan and Almar, we wanted to make a very cool 3D animation short for our graduation. And we were good at modeling, rendering, compositing and stuff, but character animation wasn't our greatest skill. So we thought, why not give motion capture a try? So that was our first time we got in touch with it. And the Utrecht University allowed us to use their optical motion capture system, which actually worked pretty well, but it needed a lot of cleanup. But we did manage to set up a cool pipeline to edit all the mocap data, and eventually the animation turned out pretty cool. I'd like to highlight a few shots, not the full movie, but I will post a link somewhere if anyone is interested to see it. And it's called the Midas effect. All right. So Berko started building a green screen studio here in Arnhem, and via friends, I kind of got involved. And his traditional audiovisual knowledge, combined with my passion for 3D and visual effects, resulted in het Nieuwe Kader being born. And het Nieuwe Kader is Dutch for the new frame, by the way. We've done a lot of cool stuff over the past 10 years. Lots of visual effects combined with our green screen studio. And I've made a small edit of some of the coolest shots we did. Now, we must not forget, this is a motion capture show. So I'd also like to show some of our coolest mocap projects. For example, our good friends at Manus. You probably know them. They're the creators of the awesome motion capture gloves. And we created this promo for their inverse kinematic quantum meta gloves. Finger licking good. Another video I'm really proud of is the one we made for Intro Dance. Intro Dance is a world-class dance collective from the Netherlands. And they asked us to create all kinds of animated dance styles for their new website. And we recorded these with Alberto, a very skilled dancer. And another fun fact about this animation is that we used a virtual cam to shoot these recordings in Unreal Engine. So you start a pre-recorded sequence of a dance animation, and then in real time you walk around it with a tracker and an iPad. And that's how you record the camera movement. So that's pretty cool. And I've got a video that shows how we did that. So you can see Tim here. And he started the dance sequence, and now he's just walking around in the office while directing his own shot. All real time. So that's pretty cool. And of course, we also got a little video of the behind the scenes of the shoot. All right. So let's talk a little about virtual production. Ever since I started with 3D and VFX, I thought of the possibilities of doing it all real time at the same time. And what do you know? That time just happens to be now. We've got camera tracking. Hit it off, Hans. All smooth and real time. We've got zoom, we've got focus. And yeah, pretty sweet. We've got real-time keying. And we also have real-time motion capture. Come on, Lexi, show them what you got. Super sweet. Super nice Italian chef here. Yeah, man, hit it off. I believe this gives a whole new dimension to filmmaking. And I also love that us artists are becoming way more present and visible in projects this way. Instead of locking yourself in a room for weeks after the shoot is done, finishing all the shots, waiting for tracking results and render times and jittering keys, we can do it all at the same time now. And we can see the results immediately. So that's awesome. And we're still being able to record all the raw data to put it back together later in post-production software to give it the final touch. And we won't have to track and key and roto everything all over. By the way, the software we are using for this, everything that's happening here is called Xsymmetry. And if you want to get into virtual production and still have all your bare bones tools to create a cool shot, I suggest you really give it a try. And here's an example of another shot we did.
Enough! Enough! I said enough! 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 I said enough!
Public transport can be frustrating. Another cool thing is that Xsens and HTC started working together on a position aiding solution in order to have real absolute positioning during your mocap session. And that allows us to have way more accurate world measure results, combining camera tracking and motion capture. And we also made a little behind the scenes for a shot we did with those two. Here in the bottom left, you can see our precious Unreal mannequin, Unreal robot. And in the bottom right corner is our lovely Harry. And on top you can see Berko walking around with the camera around Harry. And everything is being tracked within the same grid. Both the camera tracking and the motion capture. It's all being retargeted real time. And that's super sweet. You can tell Harry is a former gymnast, because this is the most flexible robot you have ever seen. And of course we have zoom and focus and Yeah, Harry's showing you, ain't no rusty screws in there. Walking around being all curious. And now that I mentioned, I'm curious if robots ever get tired and look for a place to sit down. Well, what do you know? Fascinating. Sitting robot. All right. Before I wrap this up, I'd like to talk about one more mocap project. About a year ago, we were asked by Studio Birthplace and Dead Pixel to take care of the character animation for their ad for Woolmark. And the video is about this huge zombie invasion, kind of like World War Z, only the zombies are close, without a human body in them. And we needed a lot of crazy walk cycles, run cycles, I should even call them sprinting cycles. So the first challenge with these was the amount of room we needed to record a proper sprint without seeing the anticipation of leaning forward and the anticipation of stopping while leaning backward. We needed like a proper stand-up cycle. So luckily, Xsens has this super nice on-body recording buffer, which allows you to go out of the range of your network and still do a proper recording of your data. And here you can see a small clip of how we recorded that outside the studio.
Ja, Joff? 3, 2, 1 en go. Ja, beter. Ja, dat is mooi. Dat is goed. Ga door.
Geoffrey, the awesome stuntman. All right. Next up is the post-process of this data. One thing I have always struggled with since forever I started with 3D, was creating a perfect loop. And with perfect, I mean perfect. No bobs, hops, jitters, whatever. One smooth, infinite motion. And luckily, iClone helped us achieve that. And I'm going to show you the workflow of how to create the perfect looping walk cycle. And now I will just walk cycle over here to my computer. And I've set up a scene in iClone. And I've rehearsed it over 100 times. So let's see if I manage this perfectly. I've got this simple mannequin here. And I'm just going to load in some motion capture data. Import external motion, MCCC. It says it has no profile found. That's because this was recorded without the gloves, and the standard profile has the gloves included. That's why it's mad, but I have it here, so it should work all correctly. All right, first frame is a T-pose. Second frame is Geoffrey getting ready to do his major sprint. Now, let's see if I can capture the whole part in the screen. You can see he's getting ready here. Starting to sprint. Oh, he even ran out of the screen. Oh, there he is. A little bit more. I hope this is still visible and you're not looking at 7 or 8 pixels. Okay, so there we go. You can tell by the length our studio wouldn't have been big enough. You can see here what I meant with leaning forward in the anticipation of his sprint. And here at the end, he is starting to lean more backwards. So the sweet spot would be right in the middle. Let's see, somewhere around here. And now we need to find like the perfect loop with 2 similar frames. So let's have one where he's standing on the ground with his right foot, this one. And I'll just mark it here. And I need to find the next frame, which is basically the same. Somewhere around here. Mark that too. And now we have this part, which should be one full cycle. Okay. Pretty good. Now let's clip this. I'm gonna break it apart here. And I don't like this turning wheel. And I don't like this fade on my screen. This looks like it's gonna crash. I'm quickly gonna... Ah, there it is. Well, you'll always see that that stuff happens when you're live after 20 times of rehearsal. Luckily, it shouldn't take so long to restart it again. Can blow some bubbles in the meantime. Awesome. Almost there. There it is. All right. Let's see where we left off. Oh, it has this file that it saved as a backup. Let's see. Oh, but it didn't. Never mind. Let's quickly go back where we left off. There's our avatar. I'm gonna load in the mocap data. Give it its T-pose from the data. Load in the profile. There we are again. I think it was frame 450. This one, mark that at frame 480. Mark that too. Please don't crash now. Break this. Yeah. Break it here as well. So now I have just a clip for the mocap data that I want, the full loop. Okay, so now I want the first and the final frame to be the exact same. And they're not. Because they're quietly the same, but they have a little offset. So now I'm gonna add an animation layer to it. And I'll just call that match pose. And here I can edit this layer and say, copy pose, go to the final frame and paste it there. And now I have this weight slider, which shows me the offset between the two. Kind of the same, but since we're going for a perfect loop, this is what we need. So at the final frame, it needs to be at 100, and at the first frame, it needs to be 0. And now it animates from 0 to 100, as you would expect. Well, since these last two frames are the same, I only need one of them. So I'm gonna break it here and delete that and copy this in the front. So now we have this. But of course, I wanted to keep running into infinity. But since we picked our right foot, I can align this clip with the other one by selecting align and then the right toe. So now it keeps on running. Awesome. So now how can we make this into an infinite loop? I can select both these layers, merge them, flatten them, and break it apart again. And I have this option here which says loop. And now if I extend this clip, it should loop into infinity. You can see where the loop ends and starts. And if all went correctly, Joffrey should run into infinity now. Yay. Perfect loop, no jitters, nothing, just one smooth cycle. All right, that's it. Now, of course, we all want to see the final result of the video, and here it comes. Super awesome video. Well, that's it. Thank you for listening. And Alan, what are we going to do next?
Niels, thank you so much for giving the insights. Great content you have made with Nieuwe, Kader. Questions? There's a Q&A after this, so if you could walk with me to my laptop, then we can see what kind of questions there are. So we got a few questions. So let's start with the first one. So you started young. You still look young, right? So what advice would you give someone just standing in the industry?
I would say get into Unreal Engine, get into real-time stuff, but also try to find a good workflow for yourself between like the new stuff like Unreal, but also the traditional stuff, being able to edit 3D models and textures, and try to get a good basic understanding of those. And use the more advanced stuff to like build your cool shots. Nowadays you can buy all kinds of assets, like environments, characters, and that's really cool. But it really comes to its strength when you have knowledge of how to edit the small parts and really like, for example, when a client asks for specific details, you might want to be able to edit those parts. So that's when those traditional tools really come into play. So I think something like that would be a good start.
Good, awesome, thank you. We got a question from Khaled. I want to know how to offset the mocap data to a different axis, similar to how it's done in Motion Builder, but then using iClone 8.
A different axis, you mean that it's like running in a different direction, or what specifically do you mean by different axis?
It's not mentioned there.
So I think how I would read it, you could add the character to a null and then point it in a different way, and it should respect the mocap data. Yeah, something like that. I might be able to show in the software real quick. Can we do that?
Do
we have enough?
Yeah. We do. So
Okay,
if you could, perfect.
So let's see. We have Joffrey here, and there is the null for the where the character is connected to. And I can just like turn this the other way. And now it's running this way. Is this what you mean? Has he already replied in the chat?
I think that is what he means.
It's just like this world transform that's attached to it. You have the, there it is, the transform. It also has a key on it. This one here. I can like put another key here. That's where it shows, but now it's animated. You don't want that. Or maybe you do. But this is how I would change the axis.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Niels, there's a nice question over here. Oh my God, from George Emmanuel. Would you take an intern from Martinique? So
would you take an intern?
He loves your work, so he is asking for interns from Martinique.
Yeah, I would definitely take an intern from there. Yeah, sure. Why not?
A question from Farah. How do you go about the creative process of creating the animation you have shared?
How do you go about the creative process of creating the animation you have shared? And which one do you mean specifically? Talking about creative process, it's not just me over here. I have a super cool team with, for example, Tim and Lex, Nick, Berko, all super cool artists. And I'm more of a technical guy, so I make sure the team has the right tools and the right software, and I create pipelines for them to unleash their creative thoughts. So I might not be the best one to talk about the creative process, but I can answer some stuff about the technical process.
Okay, cool.
But if you can tell me what specific, which one you meant.
If it drops down over here, I will mention it to you.
Sweet.
We got a question from Mike. Well done to you and your team on the Walmart ad. Stunning stuff. I would like to know what render engine and compositor you use. Again, brilliant work.
Awesome. Well, we were only responsible for the motion capture and the cleaning and optimizing and stuff. The compositing and rendering and the rest is actually done by Studio Birthplace and Dead Pixel. And I know Tim Smith from Dead Pixel, together with Diewer Veldbrugge. They did a lot of the visual effects shots. And I think they used Houdini as their main 3D software. And I think they used Karma as their main renderer. So yeah, big shout out to those guys. Diewer was actually a classmate of mine at the Art Academy, and I've learned so much from the dude. So I don't know if the hearts still work, but big heart to Diewer. Oh, it does.
It does.
Cool.
Okay. We got another question from, hopefully I mentioned the name correctly, Kasembo. What would you recommend for the best workflow for crowd simulation if you have one suit and need a variety of actions for your crowd when using Unreal Engine? And also in terms of crowd optimization, what techniques would you recommend to get a smooth experience in Unreal Engine?
I actually haven't done that much with crowd simulation, but I have seen, of course, I have seen Diewer and Tim Smith do it in Houdini. I know Houdini is incredible with this kind of stuff, especially simulations. I know iClone also has a new crowd simulation tool in it, in which you can easily like grab one mocap clip, give it some small offsets and 20 different characters. So I think that's going to work really well. I haven't tried it out myself, but every tool they pump out of there is great. So I would bet my money on that, really.
Okay. Okay, so there are more questions coming in, so that is really great. But because of the time, we are answering just one more question over here. So let's choose one, the one up on top, from Sophia. Do you end up using keyframe animation sometimes in mocap editing? And if so, what are some tips you can recommend with making the process go quicker?
We do, yeah. I think almost every data we record is still being touched by keyframe animation to optimize it, to just make some more exaggerated movements. Especially if you have like this cartoony character, you don't want it to move like human. I mean, we had some super cool actors, but you can really give it that cartoony touch, and which you can only do by hand.
Okay.
And especially for face motion capture, the real-time result is already pretty cool, but you really want to enhance like touching lips or really emphasize those physemes. And we do that with iClone for the body, and we use Autodesk Maya for the face. So I hope that's something useful for you.
Okay, cool. There are some more questions. So what we will do is, we will give answers on those two, but later on behind the scenes, if that is okay for you. So keep those questions coming in. That is really great. So Niels, thank you so much for giving the presentation.
Yeah. I will leave now.
You will leave now?
With a cool vanishing trick.
Thank you, Niels.
Thank you.
So I guess we're up for our next speaker. Up next, we have Omer Faruk, my buddy Omer. Omer is the studio director at Turkey's leading game development studio, Motion Blur. And Omer began as a writer, but eventually grew up to a position of a studio director. He is now leading cinematic work, focusing on facial animation and all aspects in motion capture. Their latest game, a recent announced AAA game, Black State, features off-the-world visuals. You should look at it. Intense fighting scenes, advanced transition, and endless surprises. Buddy, Omer, welcome. The stage is yours.
Thanks, and hi everyone. Thank you for inviting me here, and especially our whole team, Story. Thank you for inviting us. So I have a little presentation, lots of videos, not lots of videos, but I have videos to show you guys. And as an indie company, if you don't have any experience about motion capture and you still want to do something crazy, realistic especially, then it might be a helpful guide for you guys. Let me screen share. Screen share, and which one? Yep, this one. So I believe everyone can see my screen, I hope. So who we are, we have a special little video in every presentation that we have, even the serious ones. We show this one. I hope it shows you what I'm talking about. Yeah.
俺は最強だ。圧倒的な力ってのはつまらないもんだ。あ。
Saying that about us, we are making AAA games with independent soul. It means you should be crazy people to do such a thing, because I believe we are. We are in Turkey, based in Turkey, with 40 wild and passionate people. You'll see why I'm saying wild people, because I have videos. And also we are developing something called the Black State. Yes, a little part of the trailer for you guys.
Over there! Move, move, move! Watch out!
If you haven't seen our game trailers, Black State, we have a couple of them in online after last Gamescom. You can check them. But why I am here today, I want to talk about the motion capture phase of the project, because, as I say before, we didn't have any experience about that, but we want to make single player, third person, action adventure story based PC game with more than 100 different takedown animations, you'll see, and unique boss fights, which it came with a lot of problems, sense of the motion capture. So we didn't have any experience with it, and we didn't know anyone who did. It means in Turkey, we don't have anybody who, deal with these kind of, hyper realistic motion capture, game animation. So it means we have to sacrifice ourselves and, burn our lives every weekend and every night. But the most important thing is we don't know who will perform all these, motion capture. By the way, we already knew before we start the project, we were going to use, Xsens. My crazy boss, I always call him crazy tall guy, Kader Demirden. He already knew that we're going to buy these, crazy systems from Xsens, because it's definitely suits what we need. Because as an indie game company, most of them like us, they don't have, all the resources in the world, and it means you can't have a real nice big, motion capture studio with all the optical systems. If you guys have that, still you need something, a lot of props, even just, stare animations. But if you use Xsens, it means you'll see you can record in everywhere, which it's really, really, what we need as an indie company. But who will perform? It's quite complicated, because, we don't have in Turkey any motion capture performer or stunt actor, who, ever done this kind of things. So I must admit that this was still his idea, the crazy guy, because I just thought, we might be use some, theater players, actresses, something like that. But he found Turkish real professional MMA fighters. You can see those guys, Kaan and Murat, they are brothers. Practically, they beat each other maybe lifetime, but they become, professional about it. And one of them actually fighting in bare knuckle, which is really, really violent. But they work with us, you'll see. And which brings us the last question: is the Xsens system breakable? Because we knew that these guys throw away each other and break every bones each other. I remember that we asked them before we bought it. I asked to the Xsens team, is these sensors, all the cables and receivers, all the machines could be breakable in session. They gave us guarantee, I guess, but we never ever achieved to break one of them. I guess we have 4 systems, but we break couple of HTC Vive tracker, couple of them are that, but no Xsens. So I have a video that explains everything, how we manage all these things, where we record, who plays, who played, who record everything. You'll see. It's a long video, but I can't talk. Sometimes I'm gonna stop the video. Sorry for that. It's really annoying, I know, but I have to explain. Then you can watch again. Sometimes we use some sport complex, basketball plays or something like that, and they beat each other with really, sometimes we use their own cage in their sport complex. They still beat each other, but not just for takedown animation. We need also state animation. By the way, this is the crazy tall guy. He never looks like a CEO, but the other guys are technical lead. As you see, all of them just concentrate. And this is just an empty construction place that nearby our office, and we need to run in a place, so we use that for a long time. This is really funny one, because none of these guys are animator or performer or something like that. The sweet one is a CEO, the right one is technical lead and programmer and art director. I'm showing all this because I want to tell you something about making motion capture with Xsens in the end. Yeah, this is our garage, actually. As you see, you don't need any big places or something like that if you have Xsens. But sometimes cars interrupting your shooting, and you see this face. Yeah, you can see a lot of them. And this is inside of our office. This is a corridor. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys too much things, but this is still our office, one of our office room. Yes. The hard part is dying. We have a lot of dying animation. It means, a lot of people should die. You'll see. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can loop it while I'm talking. I show you guys all these different places, different guys doing similar things. It's because this is why we choose Xsens, because we don't have any big motion capture studio. We don't have any big props for it. We don't have any performers. We just have 40 wild and passionate talent that I already mentioned, and with them and with Xsens we can do whatever we want, whatever we need, actually. And we did, actually. In the beginning of the process, we thought, if it's so easy, because Xsens makes so easy for us, the quality of the data is really incredible. I remember that when we first record and see without any polishing, just a raw result, it was, everyone dancing in the office when they saw that in the core team. After that, we thought, why, any big companies, won't doing anything like more than a couple of hundred different, killing animations. As you see, we understand why they doesn't do that. It's because really killing you back while you are doing a lot of crazy stuff. But even you don't have any professional stunt or professional performer or professional, motion capture studio, you can, do a lot of amazing stuff with, such as technologies with Xsens. And also, I must say that they really support us, especially Ellen. I believe they don't like this, that when I'm saying, in right now, but they really help us about a lot of different things, not just selling products. It's about, let me finish my presentation. Okay, I feel lonely in here. I can't see Ellen, I can't see anyone else. I hope I'm not dropped or something like that. But anyway, yeah, where is Alan? Is he?
I am here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's much more better right now. I was saying that, of course, the whole Xsens team always supporting us, and especially you became a friend of our studio. I'm telling this, it's not this is something like commercial or something like that, but I believe it's really, really important for a indie studio when you feel a company that they are not just selling you something, also they become a friend and trying to solve every problem that you will have. I remember that a lot of time I called him directly if I saw something technical problem or something like that. I mean, it's helped a lot of things if you can work with a company that they are, trying to really support your product. And yeah, pretty much all of these I can say, I guess. And also I want to say thanks to your Turkish distributor, Sense for Motion. Even we bought all these systems before they treat us as their number one priority. And thanks for them. It means you guys choose right guys in Turkey.
Mm-hmm. Just want to say, Omer, we have only a very small part in this. I guess it's all about your studio and the passion that you bring into. So glad you mentioned that nothing broke on the Xsens side. Hopefully you didn't also get injured, because I have seen the stuff that you've been doing.
I mean, actually yesterday I really hurt my back trying to fly away and grab something with motion capture, but today I'm really great.
Be careful, be careful. Omer, thank you so much for this presentation. Amazing stuff. I wish you well and your team, of course, with your game, Black State. Hopefully it all comes at the right place. Exciting times, so thank you and all the best. Of course, we need to look into if the audience still have some questions. Well, actually, I do have a question. So, being an indie studio, focusing on creating a AAA game, what kind of advice could you give, to all the indie studios that are out there?
Emotionally, I advise them if they married people, they should convince their partner to they won't be home any soon. But other than that, if they really, really love to doing something like this, then they can do it. It's not a Disney movie, but it's about, like you said, dedication yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I never work. I never feel like I'm working. I'm doing writing part of the game, directing part of the game, also motion capture, performing, and also every weekend I'm washing these tights. Actually, I have one with a little bit sweaty, but we do everything as an indie. So if you really love to do that, then nothing's too scary.
Okay, cool. Thanks. We got a few questions coming in, so let's start from the top. From Sophia. Thank you, Sophia. So, do you source any of your mocap, or have you recorded everything in studio?
We actually get help a couple of times about annoying locomotion stuff, because we did 6 times, I guess, over and over. But sometimes it's not just about recording properly or anything else technically. It's about, back at the time, we need someone who already knew how to do locomotion stuff, because pretty much everyone in the studio, wear these sexy tights and just walk, run, jog, and turn left, turn right. But it never feels like it's great for a game. So we work in a company for outsourcing those specifically, and they have like a 2 meters military guy who really know who really know to walk like a gay. Other than that, we solve everything in the studio. I can say that.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Sophia. Do you end up using keyframe animation sometimes in mocap editing? And if so, what are some tips you can recommend with making that process quicker? Oh, I guess, I'm sorry, that question was already been mentioned. I am sorry. Let me go to another questions. I have a question over here. How did you come up with the idea for the Black State game?
Ooh, it's a long story and doesn't involve anything about motion capture, but I can say that it wasn't my original idea. It's my crazy tall guy, Kader Demirden. You can find a lot of videos about him.
Yeah.
It was his idea, and he bring me, into this like almost 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I got a question coming in from Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
A question for Omer. Facial capture. How do you use Xsens in your facial capture workflow? Is it mainly to track the head and neck motion? And can you give more details around this?
Yes, I can, and I guess it burned my 3 months constantly living in this room, this couch, sleeping there, to solve, Xsens and then face capture and finger track all at once at the same trigger to, synchronize recording everything. But eventually right now we are using MetaHuman Animator, which is much more faster and you can easily, use with Xsens. And I actually have this helmet for it. It's actually another company's helmet, but we are not using their technology right now, but we have 3D printed mount for iPhones for, MetaHuman Animator. And we put the head movement sensor in the helmet itself, and then we just start recording everything synchronously.
Okay. Going back to the questions, George Emmanuel. If you could redo something differently, what would you choose to change?
In our studio, except our CEO, none of us finished any game before this one. So pretty much everyone except him, oftenly we say, if we start today, we do a lot of things much more, different ways. It's because you have to, try and wrong, try and hopefully we found the best practice on motion capture and all the perspective of the game. But it would be great if today is the day one, but it's not.
Okay. Question from Farah. Question from Ali. What would you say are the key steps for positioning an animation studio for success and maintaining quality as it grows?
I mean, it's a long answer, I guess, but I can say that it's always evolving the motion capture and animation technologies, but you always need talented animators and talented guys who knows what they really desire, and not just focusing on one solution with keyframe, with motion capture, with any other new plugins and new features from, for example, Unreal or Houdini or something like that. You should always keep tracking them, keep finding them, hybrid with your solutions. So always you can find better way every day, every new day. So I can say that, I guess.
Okay. Another question from Ali. Any advice on locking in clients for animation projects? and what strategies have worked well for you in attracting and securing clients, and how do you keep them engaged long term?
I mean, I'm not a motion capture studio. I'm just making games. So I don't have any clients about motion capture, but I believe if I have, I never want to enter them to the studio because it's, I'm saying that it's because it's, when you are recording motion capture, it doesn't seem something cool. It seems really silly and funny. It might be, make them afraid what we pay to these guys, but eventually in the end, it'll be something great. Because I'm saying that because yesterday, literally, I'm on the laying down on the chair and then just trying to fly away something. It was really silly, but in the end, it will be something cool.
Cool. Guys, if you have more questions coming in, let them know. You previously mentioned that you are starting professionally as a writer. How did you get interested in game development? So a personal question to you.
Yeah, it's another long story, but I'm, originally a writer, movie guy, but I guess 2017, I met this guy that I called Crazy Tall Guy, our CEO. He is the mastermind of this project and the company. I just really, really admire his own story to dedicate his life to making games and learning everything with almost 20 years. And I just asked him to do, let me make a documentary about your life. And he just told me, let's make a game together. And you can also make the documentary. And we start that day, 2018. And I have hell of a, footage, like 10 terabytes about documentary. And, we wrote almost 500-page GDD with story itself and game design and everything. And he has very passionate, wild core team in the studio and also 40 people. So yeah, it starts like that, but evolve always. If you are an indie company, you can understand that you evolve what you need, Motion capture it is, if we don't have that, so I have to sacrifice myself and learn everything about it. And it goes on, yeah.
Nice. We've got a nice question over here from Gerald.
Yeah.
Do you think Black State will create a lasting impact on the Turkish gaming industry? So that's the first question.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. Not just Turkish, gaming industry. We are hoping to show whole world, especially countries like us, they never did something like this. Maybe, start thinking about, these crazy guys, if they can do, so why not? That's why I'm making those documentaries and also hold this, game. That's the point.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
How would you like other game developers to look at motion blur and the legacy it is creating?
I mean, I can't say that. I guess they should say something about that, but I hope it'll be good legacy for them. And we always open to discuss everything, open to support every, game companies in Turkey, in we don't have too much time right now, so I don't want to open the door that I can't close right now, but yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to your final question then, Omer, from Sophia. Do you prefer working in game development, or would you like to work on feature projects in the future?
In the future, yes, but right now I'm so stuck. I don't want to stuck. I'm so involved in the gaming industry right now, but not just me. We always want to do something about all these technologies in cinema because we love also cinema. But right now we have a lot of projects on the desk, so we have to focus on these. But future, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Omer, it's done. You have
Thank you.
managed your presentation. Thank you for your insights. Thanks for being here with us. And
Thank you.
Looking forward for our next meetup later on in Turkey, in Istanbul, right?
With great kebab. Call me.
Okay.
Have a nice.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Omer. So we are heading to our fourth speaker, which is Ruele. Ace is actually the founder of Bionics and specializes in character development and performance for creature, fantasy, CG characters in film, TV, and video games. His work has brought unforgettable creatures to life in major productions, including even Marvel's Eternals, Ant-Man 3, Gladiator 2, and games like Deadman Island, Lord of the Fallen, and Diablo. So, Ace, welcome. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure I can be heard. Can I be heard?
There, Ace.
Okay, cool. Okay, so thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to what I have to say to ring your ears for the next 30 minutes. So please, someone just let me know when I've got like 5 minutes left. Please let me know, Berko. So to make it very aware of what I do, basically, again, my name is Ace Ruele. To everyone that's listening, I know some friends are tuning as well, so hi to everybody. And what we basically do is we specialize in creatures and fantasy character performance for TV, film, and video games. So what I first started was as an actor. And when I first done my first film, should I say, which was Legend of Tarzan, where I played a majority of the apes and I played Order of the Lions, that's when I discovered what motion capture was. So before 2014, I didn't have an idea about motion capture. It was not known for me that was a thing. And then basically deciding to follow that path, because when I realized that I was allowed to use my dancing skills and my physicality and my martial arts skills and all of these movement skills to play a character, and that's what I find creature as. I feel like creature is the bridge between physicality, being able to use dance and all of your movement understanding, as well as the art of being able to deliver a performance, because the true actor is able to influence an audience to believe in the story and create a story in their own mind. And that's what I see the actor is. And when I realized that creature acting meant that you could use your body as well as your sound and your voice to create stories in people's imaginations, I realized that was the path for me, because my goal was going to go down the stunt route, well, be an action actor, because we don't have anyone like Michael J. White or so in the UK. And so when I discovered motion capture, it took me about 3-4 years to get in, I would say, 3-4 years to get in the foot in the door. And the way that I got into the door was by just creating content that I saw that other people wasn't creating. So I realized that the animation world, they use reference videos. And I realized if I got myself a pair of arm extensions, which I had to have built, because at the time nobody was selling them, and I made reference videos. So reference videos, to those that are watching that may not know, that's when you create a form of content that animators watch and reference it to create their animation for their keyframes. So I done that a lot, and from doing that and from moving on from there, I'm cutting the story really short. From moving on from there, I didn't want to be like the black version of Andy Serkis or just the black version of Terry Notary, which was a compliment in itself. So when I decided to start making other rigs like the Digileg, some people might have seen, and also the tail, which is probably the most famous thing that makes my videos go viral. Those things I had designed and developed in a way where it could work in motion capture for optical. And then I came about understanding Xsens from doing a collaboration with somebody, and 2 times someone flew over from Canada in Improbable, and they used Xsens in order for me to capture quadruped locomotion. And the first time I used Xsens was with the Mocap studio. So they were for the game Damien 1988, which I'd done a lot of the characters for. And that's when I discovered Xsens. And then during COVID, during the lockdown, where everybody was not able to really be out and do work, and I thought to myself, if I purchased my own suit then I'll be able to still deliver work, but also for branding wise, it will put me in a different bracket from every other actor, because yes, you know, there's other actors out there who are more skilled than me in certain skill areas. But I realized if I was somebody who was able to come with my own suit, also during COVID, it means I could capture the data. Productions could still be able to run. I'm a performer with multiple skills, and I know performers with multiple skills. So I was able to use the Xsens to still keep work going during COVID. And then as I started Creature Bionics, which is again about the fantasy character development, I realized how much Xsens played a massive part in being able to display some of my content and show real-time performance. And the reason why I say Xsens, the reason why I went with Xsens, and this has just been honestly truth, is that because the productions, any productions I ever worked on doing motion capture, they either used the optical setup or they had Xsens. So I never saw the other suits that are out there, and that's no disrespect or putting down the other suits, but the only suits that I saw outside of optical when it came to capturing motion capture, it was the suit that was for Xsens. So I said to myself, I need to get me an Xsens. That's what I did. And of course, we know that Xsens isn't the cheapest price, but at the end of the day, when you're paying for a particular standard and you see yourself as a certain standard, I'm like, it don't matter. So I took some gambling chances when it came to COVID and the stock markets. And through that, I learned how to, I earned my money through taking gambles. And I don't gamble, but I took some good chances with putting money into stocks and selling, buying, selling, not knowing how to do it before and learning on the job. And then from there, what that then made me do was then realize, okay, now I'm capable of being able to have my own suit. And then taking it from there is where we are now. So what I'm going to do is basically go down the kind of structure plan that we do for productions, whether it's video games, it's film, and go through that process. And then I'm going to also show you some certain things in relation to character, because I'm going to give you some of that, and then also show you how I've used the Xsens with a couple of videos of using it with my rig. So everyone was a waste during COVID. Hey, listen, man, COVID was a break for a lot of people. So, you know, all I can say is that I have children, so money had to be made. So for me, it was like I had to figure out a way, and Xsens really allowed that, because again, you couldn't really go into optical, and then I could use my church hall, use the most recent church hall to capture Xsens, which was Lords of the Fallen. So most of Lords of the Fallen was captured with the Xsens suit that I had, and we shot for almost about a year. So that was a really great way to earn money, but also, you know, use the Xsens for a way outside of just for myself. So I'm going to go through this pipeline. If anyone, I hope everyone can still hear me. I'll check in and out just in case. So Creature Bionics, what do we do? Creature Bionics is a character production company specializing in creating fantasy characters, film, team, and video game. Our objective is to create pipelines and provide services that aid production with development, performance, storytelling of their creatures and fantasy characters. What I'm basically saying is that it's about seeing creature acting and fantasy character acting as an independent art. So not just seeing it as, okay, because I'm an actor, I can now go and do this, because no, it's not that. Yes, anybody can do it, but at the same time, there's certain ways that I believe, and I say I believe because acting is subjective. So what my belief might be of acting might be somebody else's different belief. But for me, when it comes to creature acting, you have to get to a point where you are very comfortable with yourself, because I'm trying to convince the audience that the person that they see here isn't really me, and what they see in is a different individual. And you can do that via sounds and physicality when it comes to understanding neurology and understanding psychology. And again, I've done a lot of self-studying myself. So because I've done a lot of self-studying in regards to motion capture and everything, and in regards to personal development, I understood a way to use acting and psychology in order to influence the subconscious mind so that the audience can receive what I am putting out. So first things first, what we do is the more in-depth information available to the actor about their character's bio, backstory, the deeper the connection and in tune the actor's performance will be. So before we get into any form of character, my thing is that you need to be able to relate to that character same way you need to be able to relate to the self. So I always tell people at our workshops that if you think about somebody doing a biopic, if someone was going to do your biopic, what would they need to know? So understanding the information that you would need from doing a biopic is the same information that we will put towards a character. So we'll need to know the character's backstory. The backstory then creates the psychology. The psychology creates the behavior. The behavior then creates the actions. So when you understand those tools, you're able to now relate. You're now able to allow the actor to relate well with the character that they're playing. So this is a short version, and there are 4 objectives our team will discover or create during the process. So first of all is the character's purpose. What is the character's purpose? The reason why they exist. So when you have a script, so let's say we were just doing, and I'm going to give you a script example after, but let's say the character's purpose. The third thing we want to know is, why is the character in the script? What is their purpose? You know, and you discover the character's purpose from either reading the script, and from the character's purpose, you can discover the backstory. So for prime example, if I said to you, hey, I'm writing this script and my main character's purpose is to take over Earth and destroy it and then bring its people here and start a new world. If you think about that character's purpose, if you now try to figure out a generic backstory, you're going to figure out maybe the backstory of that character is that they come from something destructive, or their world was destroyed, or they were sent by an evil emperor to take over worlds. So you kind of get the backstory already. So if you think about someone like Superman and General Zod, I hope you guys know who they are. Both of them came from the same planet. The difference between the backstory of Superman and General Zod is that Superman was sent by his parents. So he was sent with love. The difference between General Zod, he wants to take over another planet for his people because he was exiled and he felt like the place was destroyed due to whatever the reasons were. So even though they came from the same place and went to the same space, which is Earth, because of their backstory of going to Earth and why they go to Earth, it changes the reason there. So you have to figure out the character's purpose. Then you figure out the character's mission. So the character's purpose, and I'm going to use this example with the next slide, the character's mission. So once you know the purpose, is now the mission. How do we get, what is the mission that they need to take the journey in order to fulfill the purpose? Now, when you understand the character's purpose and the character's mission, you now can develop the character's psychology. So when you now have an understanding of why they want to do, so if I told you, hey man, the reason why I do what I do is because I want to make the world a better place, I want to do this. There's a different kind of psychology when I say I want to do something to make things better compared to the psychology of somebody who wants to make things worse. And then from the psychology, you move on to physicality. So if somebody's confident, the way that they walk and they stand and they move is going to be different from someone who is not confident. So you can find out a person's physicality from their psychology. Their psychology can be broken down from their mission and purpose. The second part. So if you guys have watched, watch Civil War or you've watched Endgame. If you haven't, I am so sorry. But here is just a breakdown of using the 4 things that I mentioned in a real time. Now, I'm using this film because I didn't work on this film, but I want to break. And if those who have watched these films, you guys will either be in agreements to me or you won't. So let's say Thanos. Okay, Thanos' purpose. Thanos wants to bring balance to the universe as he predicts in millenniums to come, living beings will cease to exist due to overpopulation, followed by a lack of resources. So Thanos' purpose is that he wants to wipe out half the universes. Yeah, you can definitely get these slides 100%. They're all on the website as well. So that's his purpose. What is Thanos' mission? Thanos' mission is to collect the Infinity Stones, which will give him the power to make the wish of wiping out half the life in the universe. So Thanos, so as we know, Thanos has come to cut half the universe in half because he believes that in millenniums to come, this is what's going to happen. The universe is going to wipe out. So how does he live his purpose? In the script is his mission. So Thanos' mission is to collect the Infinity Stones, which would give him the power to make the wish of wiping out half of the life in the universe. He is willing to go to great lengths and sacrifice whatever is necessary to complete the mission. We know this because if you watch the film, he sacrificed his only known daughter to him, which is Gamora. Now, when you understand somebody that has a purpose like this and has a mission like this, you can understand their psychology. If you really believe that you need to wipe out half the universe, there's a very type of psychology that you have to say that you as an individual is going to wipe out half the universe in order to make the universe continue. So Thanos' view, his psychology, views himself as a highly intellectual being and will always believe he is right once he has made a decision. If you watch the film, you can see that he doesn't make mistakes in the film. He's very precise in what he wants to do. He's got an assertive way of thinking. His dedication to his mission creates a personality of someone who is assertive, confident, authoritative, and egotistical. Thanos is what you might class as an alpha male. When you say alpha male, you're talking about masculine, and when you say masculine, you're talking about a way of logic and a particular form of behavior. You're not talking about male and female, because in the world we both have masculine and feminine energy. But in this form of when we use alpha male, it's about saying the alpha side of self, the masculine very part that is very straightforward and has very way of seeing, or very closed mind, you want to say, of seeing. When you say egotistical, it's basically you're saying a closed way of seeing a thing, and he has a closed way of seeing that the universe has to be wiped out in order for it to continue. Thanos' physicality. So now when you understand the psychology of somebody like that, Thanos has a strong physical presence due to his mass and confidence, which is executed through his locomotion and the way he delivers his vocabulary. So if you watch Thanos, you know that Thanos he doesn't really shout often. He's very precise with his words. He doesn't go and ah. He's very just bang on the ball. And that's what we understand. So I'm going to zoom in and out in order to see what people are saying. Now, if we move on next, achieving the objectives, our team will thoroughly read through and break down your script and use additional information that is available for us to uncover the characters for objectives. Once this process has been completed, we may suggest and come up with new ideas in relation to the character story. If there isn't a script available, we will focus on developing the necessary objectives that will benefit the overall performance and character. So what I'm basically saying here is, even if you are making a new script and the character that you're using doesn't have anything to do with someone that's out there before, so you can't go on Google, from your script I will be able to break down the objectives, because like I said, when you know somebody's purpose, you can then create a generic backstory. When you can create a generic backstory, it then makes it able for you to be able to relate to that character in order to play them. Once you find out the purpose, you can then kind of decide what the mission is going to be. The mission is in the script, then the psychology. So here it is. It's backstory, psychology, behavior, idle. So those that who work in video game will know that idle is your neutral standing position. Breath cycle. Your breath is very important to who you are as an individual. By somebody's breathing, you can tell what kind of life force they're at. If I start breathing like and you close your eyes, you know somebody's out of breath. If I breathe like you now then understand what type of physicality a character like that might have. So sound and breath can allow you to visualize what type of character, the physicality and the type of psychology they might have to have. So you move on to vocal sound and you move on to locomotion. From that, we move on to character previs, and character previs is now that we've discovered what the character psychology, behavior, backstory is, we move on to the character previs, and character previs is now testing out these things in real time and using the physicality. This is now character previs, so we work on the character's idle, the locomotion, the movement coordinate, and how they move in specific scenes, and action design. So this is when we might have to start designing specific action moves that relates to the character. This is when we now might move to mocap previs. So when I say mocap previs, is that a lot of the characters that I might work with are either CG or they might be live action in costume. So regardless if they're live action in costume or CG, what we can do, if you haven't got a rigged model made, we can make a simple, quick model. Like, so if you see the gray mesh on the left side, someone made this off of me on the internet. I typed my name Ruele in Google and I found this, and I just asked them, can I use it as one of my avatars? And they said yes. So that's why if you see here now, like this left version is something that we would create around your character. So let's say you had artwork of your character, or hopefully you had the 3D model of your character. We would rig the character in order to get a live previs, because the reason why I use live previs is because you get to actually see what the movement translate looks like in real time before any cleanup, before anything. So you know that when you're going on to production, when you're going on to set, the actor already has the information, everybody on the production has the information of what the mocap looked like in previs, looking at the character. Because yes, you can look at me through a video and find out, yes, those are the great moves, we love them, we're going to use that for mocap. Then you put me onto the character and there's a lot more cleanup because the movement that I created goes into the mesh. So what we do is have a previs version, a low poly version, where you can now see the physicality of the character, you can see the actor, you can see the digital puppet, and it's those real-time movements that we use for creating live previs, and that's what we use the Xsens for. So the Xsens comes in a lot for that, because we just throw in the Xsens suit in order to create that. So here we're just talking about, we own 2 Xsens MVM systems, which we do, 2 iPhones, talking about with the Manis gloves that we no longer have, because we had a good long-term loan with the Manis team, but now that termination is over, so we now will just use gloves from our partners at Target 3D, which is an optical studio that we will use. Now, the only time that I would really opt to use optical studio is when we're capturing a high number volume of people, or when I'm using specific rigs that take me off the ground, or limbs like my tail. Those are the ones that I will switch to optical because it captures my rigs more. But with the Xsens, I'm able to capture my digileg performance, and I'm able to also capture my quadruped arm extension performance, which I will show you some videos after showing that. Then it comes to the creature rigs. So this is the thing that we do. We create rigs specifically for actors in order to be able to mimic the performance in relation to their character. So this is just imagine we were going to play this dinosaur in the background. I'm just going to check to make sure everybody's still there and everything's good. So using creature rigs, let's say if I was going to play this velociraptor, I would then, if you see the image over here, I would then just lean myself forward, so I'm bending over, have the tail there, and have the digilegs to mimic this performance. Now, this doesn't mean that the performance that I'm going to get is going to be the final do or the end all, but what it does mean is that as an actor, I get to feel more physical to the dinosaur, and that the animator is able to create more data that is more realistic to the creature character. Now, I've done some when it's worked, I've done some when it hasn't worked, but I do know now that I understand now what the rigs work the best with. And so, for instance, my tail one, yes, it's nice for reference, but do we need a tail rig in motion capture? No, because I know that people can trigger stuff with the rig. But what it does do is create the weight that that the actual character would have, or more off the weight, compared to if I done it as myself just in the suit and I didn't have any rigs on. So Creature Bionics is all about getting the actor closest to their character. By that, in mocap, that means that we get a realistic performance. It means that the animations can get some data around that. They can play with it, because you have the option to use the rigs and not use the rigs. So it's not like to say, oh, this is final. Also on set, if we're doing on-set VFX reference, so those that do VFX, if I'm not doing no mocap, but yet still I'm playing a dinosaur on my digilegs and my tail, I'm going to give the actors and everybody around on the production a more visual reference that works with them. So I use that tail on Ant-Man, which I can show you guys later. Then we do casting, so we help people find creature and fantasy character actors. Also working with cast, so for Craven, the film Craven, I can't talk too much about it, but I done some character development for the main actor that plays Craven, and that again, that was through COVID, and how much they used of it, I don't know, but I was able to create a character development sheet, which I will show you for a film that we use on Netflix. And then we do workshops for actors. This is the first time, this was the first ever creature motion capture workshop using arm extensions, and we did this in 2021. And yeah, and then after is about our rates and blah, 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 blah. All right, so I'm gonna close that, and I'm gonna show you some other stuff. So for instance, so I don't know if anyone's on Netflix, and I'm just going to give you a quick behind the scenes. On Netflix, there's a film called Family Pack. Family Pack is called Loup-Garou, which is the game in France where it's basically like mafia. So, you know, there's where I don't want to say too much, but you basically can die. So let's say for this film that I done, I won't go into what happens in the film, but I'm going to give you a prime example of character development. So there's werewolves in the film, and this film, we were responsible for the movement of all the werewolves. We done the training. I assisted with the casting. It was all my team. So this is something that I would do. I would break down the script, and from breaking down the script, I would then get the overall purpose of it, you know, the mission. And I would do something like this for each character, you know, wolf, breast cycle, slow, deep, big, idle pose, upright, tall, confident, alpha, powerful, energy. So these are the kind of stuff that I would do. I would give to the director and I'll give to the actors in order for them to do. Now, to go on just a little bit more on character development, and this is something that I will give to everyone can get, is this one here. Just going to check that everybody is still able to see what I am doing. Yes, everyone's there. Okay, so this here, I won't go too much in this because it will eat too much time, but this here is the same thing. So this is what I do in the workshop. So again, this is a breakdown that you guys can have. This is about, you know, developing the backstory. So when you develop a backstory for a character, the reason why some people know who this character was, Grogu or Baby Yoda, is because of this character. So this character helped. This character here gave us a backstory of this character. So this is a prime example why backstories are important, because who we are as individuals, from the experience of our backstory and the environment and the people we are raised around, contributed enormously to our locomotion, our psychology, which forms an important aspect. And I created this for animators, so that animators, that when they create their animations and they create their characters, they have something for the reason why their character is moving. Like, what is the reason that my character moves? Why does my character breathe? So the first part of developing the character is the backstory. Why my character come into existence? Where is my character from? What we are living in conditions? Where is my character's location? So now after you do that, you create the psychology, which I explained before. So the psychology comes from the backstory. Then you can find out, you know, what does my character desire? What does my character's purpose? Because somebody's desires can give a psychology can give an aspect of a person's psychology. Because if I tell you all my desires is to, you know, use people, manipulate, greedy, you're going to have a particular psychology about me. Then you might wonder, what kind of backstory? Where does somebody come from to only want to be greedy? Maybe they grew up with not having much. Maybe they grew from a family that had too much. So you understand? So these are the things. And then when it comes to creating the development, the anatomy and physiology, I tell actors all the time that your physicality is about the audience. Yeah, and I want to say this very clearly, and this is also for animators, whether you're moving lights, whether you're moving an object in a scene, everything about when you decide to make something move from one point to another point between space, which is movement, your objective is to ensure that the audience receives what you are doing. So a lot of the time people think that, oh, if I do the best acting and if I put this here and I do this there, this is the best. But if the audience don't understand what you're doing, your work is not going to be understood, and that means your work is not good. So your work might be good to you for your ego, but if the work cannot be received by people, then your work is not good. So for me, prime example, I say to people, the sound of your character or the sound of your atmosphere should be able to make a blind person visualize what that sound does. Your physicality is supposed to help someone who is deaf visualize and what that physicality means, so they can picture the sound. Yeah, and I always say to people, make your performance readable for a child but entertaining for an adult. So what you do is readable for a child but entertaining for an adult. So like a mobile phone or an iPad, there's probably people here like my children who know how to use an iPad, you know, who know how to use a phone. But that same phone can be entertaining for an adult, where some of us run our businesses from our phone and our iPad. So it's making something that's accessible and easy to understand by a child, but entertaining for an adult. So that's when you really have to understand. So when we talk about breath, I'm going to give everybody a little task. Okay. And I give everyone a little task. Okay. Please put all your questions for Ace. Yes. So let's say I'm going to get everybody, if you want to take part in this little task, to close your eyes. Yeah. So I want everyone to close their eyes. I know I can't see if you're closing your eyes, but if you really want to take part in this, close your eyes. So I'm going to do a sound. And I want everybody to message, or people to message in the comments to see what came up with. So if you close your eyes now, I'm going to do a sound, and from the sound that I create, I want you to visualize how big did you see this character. Okay, so if everyone's closing their eyes in 3, 2, 1. Now, I want everybody to just go in the comments. Did you visualize a character that was tiny? Did you visualize a character that had some mass and some size? Yeah. So this is a prime example, and I'm hoping everyone said large size stuff and everything. So this is a prime example how our subconscious works, that our subconscious is so used to, sorry with the multiple sharing screen, that our subconscious is so used to different sounds that we can also close our eyes and work with our subconscious. Now, if you close our eyes one more time. Close our eyes one more time, and now you're going to listen to this character. So this character is more like this. So 3, 2, 1. Now, with that character, I'm assuming you didn't think something massive. You probably thought something more smaller, more our size. So now when you understand sound and breath, you can use it to manipulate the person's subconscious in order for them to imagine what you want them to imagine. And you do the same with your physicality. You do the same with your breath. Okay, so this is why it's very important that even when you come with your own creation, you have to understand that people are going to be influenced in a particular way, and you have to understand that everything you do creates an atmosphere. So your sound creates an atmosphere, your breath creates an atmosphere, the light that you use in Unreal creates an atmosphere. If I shine a light above me like this, it's going to create an atmosphere. If I shine a light directly in front of me, it's going to create an atmosphere. So everything we do is creating an atmosphere, and you want to be able to create the right atmosphere that influences the audience to know the atmosphere that you are on. So that's how I like to explain when it comes to that. So we break this down again. Idol. So this is the last thing I want to say before I show you guys some videos, and I really want to break this down for you guys. So let's say your character's idol should be a combination of their psychology, anatomy, and physiology. For example, if your character is particularly strong, confident, and authoritative like Thanos from the Marvel Universe, his persona can be seen from how his posture has been designed in his stance, Thanos, his neck right and head right. Okay, I'm not going to go all the way into that. Now, the reason why I break that down, the mic couldn't handle those. Oh, sorry. It was, let me try. It was. Was basically that. So now if you look at Iron Man and Thanos, right? Iron Man and Thanos are basically the same individuals mentally. Okay? Physically they're different, but mentally they have a lot of commonality. How do we know? Thanos is assertive. Iron Man is assertive. Iron Man isn't the leader of the Avengers, but we know he doesn't listen to Captain America. We know Thanos doesn't listen to anybody but himself. Even though Iron Man is only using technology from the Earth, he is always at the forefront regardless of what alien being comes through the sky. Thanos doesn't pet away to fight as well. So how do we know it's psychology over physicality? So I'm going to show one video. Okay, I'm going to show one video that I always show that basically when we do this video, I always show it to everyone. I don't know if sound's going to play, but let's see. Thanos versus Hulk. Hopefully sound comes through.
I assure you, brother, the sun will shine on us again.
Your optimism is misplaced, Asgardian.
Well, for one thing,
But I just want you to see this, all right?
I'm not Asgardian. And for another, we have a Hulk.
Normally, Hulk is used to fighting with rage and everything like that, all right?
Let him have his fun.
Now, this is where things change. This is the first time that we see the Hulk being handled. Yeah, we can say woman handled manhandled, however we want to say it. Hulk's never been beaten like this before. Okay, so why was that important? Because if you understand, so don't worry. So the video was basic about Thanos fighting Hulk, and that was the first time that Hulk got beaten by Thanos. Yeah. Now, if you watch that film, you know that Hulk never came out again. Hulk never showed up for the rest of the film. If you guys have watched the film, when Bruce goes, Hulk, we need you, he goes, no! The Hulk never came out. Yeah? So the Hulk never came back out again. So this is why we know that the psychology of being somebody who wants to do something is over physicality. Because Iron Man is not bigger than the Hulk. Iron Man got stabbed. Iron Man still went to fight Thanos. Hulk got beaten up at the beginning of the movie and never came out until the next movie. And what I class that as is an ego death. That the Hulk was so used to fighting with rage, always winning or coming back and forth, that the time that he got beaten to a pole, he had an ego death. And then what happened in the next film? Hulk and Bruce Banner became one. So it was the Hulk's body and Bruce's mind. Yeah, so this is why you have to understand that physicality doesn't determine psychology, because Iron Man and Hulk are two different sizes. So that was something that I basically wanted to share. And we do stuff like that and we break it down. And again, you can get the PDF from the website directly. Now, let's go into talking about how we use motion capture in regards to creating stuff. So this is me using the Xsens to test out my leg rigs. Yeah, so, okay. So if you watch this video, and if you can see my feet, if you look at the feet at the beginning, you can see that my feet is rolling. So just like human beings, we're using our heel and we're rolling up to the balls of our feet, yeah? And then now, when I put on my mini digi legs, you can see now I'm going directly onto the toes. Yeah, and this is how the werewolf is supposed to be walking. That is direct onto the toes, onto the paws. There's no more rolling up. So this now, what that does, it does help with animation with a little bit more better data. Does this mean that animators can't do this themselves? Of course they can. But what it also means is that me as an actor, I get to have a more realistic performance. Because if you've ever tried to do werewolf before and tried staying on your toes, it is not the nicest thing to do. Yeah, your calves burn. Also, I'm going to show you a video of using arm extensions for Xsens. And this is from Brit, from Australia, who I work with. And here we go. She is using the Xsens suit and the arm extensions. You can see that she's using the arm extension. This is just real-time data, really any cleanup from what I know, because as I said, we use real-time data a lot to just get things going. But here, we're using the arm extension to capture this character. So imagine now we didn't have the arm extensions and we were doing this without it, how hard it would be to do that. So this is the kind of process that I've been using Xsens for. Now, there's a quick something I want to show you guys that I just did as a test. All right. So as a test, I got this character. I got this character that was raw data. That was even raw data. In fact, let me show you one more raw data from Xsens. And I don't lie, guys. So I'm just letting you know, when I say it's raw data, there's no, oh, I cleaned it and I'm trying to lie to you. No, this is raw data. So I'm going to show you one of the raw data that helped me to go viral. And this is with the Xsens. So here we go. So that was raw data. So there's no cleanup on this. Yeah, so just showing you the levels of raw data that we can get with Xsens. Now, I wanted to show you one more thing. So basically what I did was I had a character, I bought a character from Unreal, and this character had wings. And then what I did, because the wing character was rigged, what I did was ask somebody to make my mouth be able to control the wings. All right. So my mouth, when I open up my mouth like this, the wings would start to fly. So basically, I was on the floor doing something like this. Hold on. So I was on the floor doing something like this in real time. As you can see, I'm opening up my mouth. And this is me flying, by the way, guys. Yeah. So I'm using my mouth to open up the wings. And here's just a quick screen record of of quickly just putting something together. And it actually recorded the sound as well. Sorry about that, because I was recording. So you can see this here. So here you can see, hopefully you can still hear me because I just turned the volume down on the video. But here you can see I'm using the wings just to test. Oh, how can we get flying data? Now, again, this doesn't mean it's the best. It doesn't mean that, you know, you can't use animation and hand key and everything. But I just wanted to test. And again, using the Xsens makes me just go like this. Sometimes I have an idea and I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it out. So the reason why I love using Xsens for doing stuff like that is because hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hopefully, let me just check that I didn't turn off the volume. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, just in case I turn off the wrong volume. Yeah, I'm still there. Okay, cool. So here you go again. So here is using that data as using my mouth. So you can see how many times I had to open my mouth and close it to flap the wings. And again, that's just basically, again, I'm showing you that because that's just basically me saying what I love about Xsens is that when I want to do something real time, I can do it. Another video I can show you guys, which is this. This was using the Xsens to do real-time transformation. So this is in real time as well. So we figured out how to do it. I can't remember myself per se because it's quite a long time and the animator that I was using no longer works with us. But this was basically showing real time in the real time, and they were moving across the level sequencer in order for the real time to happen. So I could perform a transformation and they could move in level sequencer in the right time to cause that, or you can queue it. And now I can do a whole transformation live. So for me, what that means is when I now go and do a talk, instead of just talking with just, instead of just talking and just, you know, showing live mocap, I can actually do a performance. I can do a real-time performance and do a real-time transformation. So yeah, guys, I hope basically what I was saying, I don't even know how much time I've got left. How much time do I have left, to be fair? Because I can talk forever, to be fair. So let me know how much time I have left, guys, because we could talk forever. So what I use Xsens for, like I said, and to really highlight, the best thing for me is the live motion capture. The live motion capture, I've used it in so many settings. I've used it to show, you know, young people who have never been around motion capture before, come to our studio, get to show them motion capture. I've been able to create, you know, people are able to have reels, you know. So for instance, something like this, I let me share my screen again, share my screen. Share entire screen. So I've been able to, you know, we worked with the Met Film School for them to be able to get, you know, a show reel just using mocap and FaceTime. And so we went through just a plain background so people can get a show reel, you know. So they're all using the face, the live link and the mocap suit. Some people had the gloves on, And this now meant that for an affordable price, so for something like this, I charge an actor £300, and £300 they're able to come into the suit for 2 hours, understand how it works, and then after they get a monologue for a minute and a half, and then we don't do no cleanup, so that's why everything's in real time. But then they can get the data, so if they decide to pass it on to someone, they can do that. If they decide to learn how to use Unreal, they now can put their thing into the format. So these are the kind of things I've been able to offer people, because motion capture is not the easiest thing that you can just go and use, but because again, I don't operate as a studio. So because I don't operate as a studio, for me, I do not have to charge studio prices. I'm not paying, many crazy overheads. So and that enables me to say, offer actors who might want to get into mocap, be like, hey, look, this is the price that we can do it for, and you can get something like this. So yeah, guys, I hope what I've explained to everybody in regards to what we do and how we work and what we do has been something that is usable. So if anybody has any questions in regards to what we're speaking about, we can't do that FE Code Campus. If anyone has any questions, throw questions at me.
Ace. Wow, that is amazing, man. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
A lot of people typing in messages online, so that is really good thing. So awesome stuff. Great work, Ace, and definitely a big fan of you. Definitely we have questions coming in. So let's start from the top. From Sophia. When recording mocap data for creatures, do you find it difficult sometimes to make it realistic and less human-like, or does your keyframe animation help with that?
So I just want to say to everyone that as asked this question, I don't do post animation. So everything I do is up to motion capture. Then I might put it in Unreal to just throw a thing. But post animation, how I normally work with people is like, let's say, Lords of the Fallen, when they came to me, I'll just capture all the data, put it through the HD processor, and send them all the data. So if you come to me, guys, I don't do a choosing this one and choosing that one. I don't have time for that. I don't operate as a studio. But in answer to that question, this is the reason why I use real time. The reason why I use real time is because what I want to do is make sure that I'm able to create the most realistic performance in real time, so I can watch it back and be like, okay, because sometimes I create performances from looking at a character, then when I throw the suit on and I do the same performance, it doesn't match. It doesn't suit the energy and aura of the digital puppet. So the real time enables me to be like, okay, let's get into real time, let's watch, let's do it, and then we work and work and work till we get to a standard point. Once we get to a standard point, we will now know to capture from that standard point, and then therefore anybody who's doing the post animation will be given a realistic reference. And we might do that with animators. So let's say you were running a shoot. Before we run a shoot, we might say, let's do a previous rehearsal. So you're remotely in, retarget it to the character in Unreal, and then you get to see the movements. And then when you see the movements, you're like, that's it. So now we know that we are capturing the right things because it works well with the rig, the performance works with the rig, and it also matches the character. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Nice. Khalid, the actor appears to be far from the computer. Since it's wireless, will that affect performances?
Nah, it doesn't. So of course, Xsens has a range between, I believe it's 100 meters, 100 or between 100 to 200. I can't remember. But yeah, between 100 to 200. I'm never that far away from the suit, to be fair. I'm not really needed to be that far away from the suit. But I did do a shoot the other day with, I can't say where it was, but I was with Nieuwe. If anybody knows Nieuwe, with a good friend of mine. We done a video game shoot, and we was in a 7,500 square foot studio, and we were able to use the whole space to capture the motion capture data. We didn't use the whole space because the actors would have probably died of physicality, but we were able to. So what I normally do is I always use the laptop. Again, you can do on-body recording. I've got some ideas of putting I've got ideas of, you know, getting a suit made to go underwater and swim underwater with the suit with protection and record it on the body. I've got those visuals. I do know certain swimming things have been done already with Xsens, but I know it's a secret, but I want to be able to show it, like, you know, so I would do that. I would, not now, but I would go and get a suit made to cover up the thing you record on the body to get the motions, because I like testing stuff like that. But yeah, so moving away from the computer doesn't affect the performance. As long as the streaming is still working, everything is fine.
For the ones that don't know about on-body recording, there's an SD card embedded on the body pack on the back, so you can even record without visuals, so you can record on the suit itself. So you can run a marathon and record it.
Yep.
A question from Jaro. I've been a fan of your work for quite a couple of years, and it's inspired me during the master study. I'm exploring the benefits of using motion capture for creature animations versus keyframing, focusing on time saving without losing believability. Would you be open for chatting? I appreciate any feedback.
Yeah, 100%. Like, guys, I'm not somebody who wouldn't speak to anybody who reaches out. I can't always get back to everybody, but for me, the process of how I got to where I got to was the help from others. You know, I'm an ambassador for Xsens. They have helped me with certain things in regards to the suit. You know, Remco being one of them, Ollie being one of them. Like, when I message them, they're there straight away. So I didn't come up and get to where I got to without people supporting me. You know, from getting scans from Clear Angle for free, from Cave Academy putting me on workshops. So for me, if people have questions, I will always do my best to reach out, because at the end of the day, I'm not big enough for anybody to get advice from. If it helps, it helps. You know.
Cool. Thanks. Question from Rachel Wood. Ace, saw your speak last 2 years ago at BU. Been some massive tech developments since then, especially for facial mocap. What industry shifts have you seen, and where can you see it going in the next 2 years?
I feel like things are I feel like the evolution of technology, the evolution of basically everything, is about making everything easier and faster. That's what the human seems to want to be able to do, to try and make things faster and make things easier. So for instance, like with MetaHuman Animator, the face one, you can now get certain levels of animation on the face that you probably couldn't have got before. And even so, what I see the way it's going, of course, everybody's, you know, worried about the whole AI stuff. For me, I'm not worried about AI, guys. I'm just gonna say this to you now. I know it might be a question someone might ask about, yo, Ace, AI and mocap and everything. And I say everybody this: listen, at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do to stop AI. There is nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing. So what you can do is try to find a way to incorporate it into what you do. And I've heard animators say, hey, I'm gonna use animator to do the nitty-bitty stuff, AI to do the nitty-bitty stuff I don't really want to do. And then when it's time to put in the emotion and the human aspect on it, that's when I get involved. So would I use AI? Of course, because I'm not a deep animator like everybody else, but if I can use it for the nitty-bitty grits, and then when I need to get something where I need human and I need life in it, then I go to a human being and say, hey, this. So I see AI basically, you know, probably helping in regards to cleaning up. There still hasn't been any AI version that really helps with creature motion capture data. You know, like there's not that, but I hope that in the future, that's what's created, that everything that I'm capable of doing, that AI just helps to build on that. I don't look at it as taking a job away, because at the end of the day, guys, for, you know, when VFX came out, the practical effects business got scared. When films came out, the theater business got scared. When Kindle came out, the book business got scared. But they're all still here, and people will always want to go back to using human beings. Someone will be like, hey, I want an actor, and I want an actor in a suit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't pet when it comes to the AI, but yeah, that's where I see things going, things being easier. Like I was at Unreal, I was at Epic when they had an Unreal showed on the other day, and they showed I think it's, I don't know what version of Unreal it is, but motion capture is going to be so much easier. Literally everything in mocap can be done via live link into Unreal, and it has its own settings. So I think the future is just about making things easier and making things faster, and then you just have to adapt to incorporate into your your services.
Cool. Thank you for that answer, Ace. Question from Ali. Could you share which headgear you're using for motion capture? Also, which version of the iPhone do you find works best with it?
Oh, so I have two head mounts. I have the standard deviation one. So I've got one, and then I've got my own Rebus one that I made myself, and like that one ain't breaking, but that one's got a bit more weight, but it ain't breaking nothing. So I kind of pre-built it myself, one of them, and then one of them was standard deviation. And the phones that I use, I've got an iPhone 12 mini and I've got an iPhone 13 mini. So I was told that the iPhone 12 mini is the best. I can't remember exactly why, but there's something in regards to something that why the 12 mini is best. But I just throw in the 13 mini because the 13 mini is what I use as a work phone. So it's just easier for me to just connect it through the quad lock, boom, lock it and have it in front of my face. So yeah, iPhone, the 12 mini and the 13 mini, they say the 12 mini is the best, but I used the 13 mini, but I got the 12 mini as well.
Okay. Ace, we're going to go forward with two more questions. Sophia, when recording mocap data for creatures, do you find it difficult sometimes to make it realistic?
Oh yeah, I think that question was the first one.
I'm so sorry. It's still mentioned over here in my screen. So
that's fine.
Got a question from Mike. Your work is an inspiration. Thanks for sharing. What advice, recommendation? Oh, something pops up over here. Can you offer for using mocap for stylus character animation?
So what advice did you say that again? Sorry.
What advice or recommendation you have for offering? Can you offer for using mocap for stylus character animation?
So for me, the main two things is one, build the story around the character. Why are they doing what they're doing? So imagine someone was doing a biopic of you. What would they need to know about you? You know, what school you went to, where you grew up, your parents. So do a biopic around your character. When you do a biopic around your character and it's your own character, that means you get to make it up. Once you make a biopic of your character, it's then for you to physically test it. So if I'm making a robot, I'm going to pretend to be a robot and then move around as much as I can. And then I'm going to translate that into my mocap but my robot movement is going to come from the story that I've created. And again, robot being, if you're trying to, let's say someone's making a robot and you're like, so Ace, how do I decide how my robot's going to move? Then the robot is going to be an essence of the creator. So, you know, if I was a person that felt like I was weak, and I can create a robot, I'm going to create a strong robot. I'm going to create my alter ego type. I'm not going to create a robot with my weaknesses. I'm going to create a robot with my strengths. So then that now gives you the backstory of how you want this character to move. So I always say, create the backstory and then physically create the ambience. So that means get up and play as your character. You know, change the lights, put the right clothing on to do all of these things. Feel it in your body, then get down onto your laptop and then do it. So I always say creating, because the more that you can have something in common with someone, it's like, for instance, your best friend is someone you have so much things in common with. So when you're creating your character, create your character where you can have so much things in common, the way they think, the way they move, The more you get down, then gives life to that character. So you're basically creating a biopic for the character, which then makes it able and gives it a purpose to move.
Nice. Last question, Ace, from Jonathan. Any advice when doing a speech sequence with head and gloves capture? How do you make sure the capture really is well? How do you make sure to capture really well the actor's genuine personality, as such as micro motion?
So for me, that's all coming down to previs. So when you've got the tech it comes down to previs and just finding out, testing. That's why I always try to tell productions, hey, before we do a shoot, let's do a previs, because it's just going to save you. Yes, it might cost you money to take out the suit and do everything thingy, but it's going to save you some time in the post animation. So I would say, if you've got the gear, previs until you are happy. If it's your own production, previs until you are happy. Obviously, if you're being paid and you've only got a certain amount of time, put that into your budget. hey, no, we do previs because, oh, no, we don't have the budget. You want to save time? Let's previs, you know? So I would say prevising is a way. So real-time previs, I do a lot of real-time prevising. I always do real-time, you know, even everything you've seen me showing you from my side of things, that's not from a production, is all real-time previs. The only thing that wasn't real-time previs was the turtle, the Super Ninja Near Turtle, but that was just one capture and then after just sent. So it wasn't edited or anything like that. So that's why I say it's best to use previs, because that would then allow you to see, okay, cool, this is what I'm doing and this is what needs to be done and this is what I can fix. So yeah.
Great. Great answer, Ace. Looks like you're all done over here. So thank you so much for being here at the Motion Capture Conference. Amazing stuff. A lot of things are going on, so thank you again for being with us.
No problem, man. Take care.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much for being with us. Awesome talk. Very inspiring. A lot of passion in it. So thank you for sharing that. I guess we are heading to our final speaker. Thanks. So for our final speaker, please welcome Victor Perez. Victor is a multi-award-winning film director and visual effect artist with a remarkable career spanning over 27 years. He has contributed to Hollywood blockbusters like Christopher Nolan's Dark of the Rises, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, the Harry Potter saga, and the Pirates of the Caribbean series, among many others. This session will be pre-recorded, so while we won't have a live Q&A, we encourage you to share any questions that you have so we can forward it to Victor. Victor, welcome.
Hello, my name is Victor Perez. I'm a visual effects supervisor. I apologize for not being there at the moment this video is on air because I am working on location for, I cannot tell you, but it's a fantastic movie. It's really fantastic. Before going forward with this this presentation, that I would like to talk to you about the importance of motion capture for creativity and visual effects in general, I'm going to show you something that is just going to make my point, because we are artists, so I prefer my work to speak by itself. So let's have a look at this clip. It is called The Third Person.
Mr. Quinn, are you ready?
Please, call me Memmy. Yes, I'm ready.
Manny, tell us about your job.
I've been working for Epic for a few years now. I can't complain. I have a job at the end of the day. But I think I can do more. I didn't graduate with honors in performing arts just to be the ragdoll of everybody who wants to learn to do stupid video games. Sorry. But it's true. I feel used. When they start telling stories, they use them.
Them?
Yes, you know, metahumans. I don't discriminate people for the amount of polygons they have, but since they arrived a couple of versions ago, I'm struggling to keep working on short films. I work out very hard every day to be ready when the user press play.
Can you show us around?
Sure, over here. This is a cube. Nice, isn't it? It's not very helpful, and in my opinion, disrupts the harmony of this map. But they don't listen to me. Off the record, I think they don't have enough money to get a proper asset. I think they spend the whole budget developing version 5, and it's full of This is where I live. It isn't much, but it's home, you know. I think I'm going to send my LinkedIn profile to Unity.
And this forklift? Was this here before?
No worries. It's expandable. It will disappear in the next shot. Probably the idiot programming this cinematic forgot to remove it from the sequence. See?
Thank you for your time, Mr. Quinn.
Thank you. And please, call me Manny.
Why did I show you this? This short film that I created a couple of years ago was made entirely in Unreal Engine. I did it alone, just by myself. And before doing this short film, I had no idea how to use Unreal Engine. So the thing is, like, honestly, not being able to learn that before the course, even, I mean, I didn't touch a thing in there. So what happened is, like, the course that was really amazing, offered by Unreal, I mean, by Epic Games, it was really, really intense. So I was learning from the lighting techniques, from camera, from cinematography, from assembling cinematics, from geometry, from importing. So every day I was supposed to learn, to study on my own, to practice, and then to build the short film. It took something like 5 weeks, if I recall. What I remember is, in the beginning, I had like a feeling of being overwhelmed by the amount of information. That is a very important turning point for me, because it represents a metaphor of our job in the visual effects industry. As an artist, sometimes we get distracted by technology, and we forgot the point of technology, which is to help us produce art, to create. So, as a friend of mine used to say, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And that thing is actually difficult sometimes, because we just get impressed by lights and buttons that I love, but that was not the point. So I remember the turning point for me on the short film was that it was like 3 days before the delivery. And I swear I was not procrastinating, I was just overwhelmed. But 3 days before the delivery, I didn't have anything, but really anything. So I remember just going to the origin of what is storytelling. And storytelling is about people, or things that behave like people. And the best example of these things behaving like people is, for instance, Pixar animation studios. What would happen if toys had feelings? Or what would happen if cars had feelings? What would happen if monsters had feelings? To the point that, what would happen if feelings had feelings? So this is the thing, is like, we want to empathize. And at the end of the day, we can empathize with anything in the world if they behave in a human way. So even if I work in visual effects and I love feature live action, I consider that the real point that we have in contemporary art, in moving pictures, I will say, is the most innovative field is actually animation. Because it's in animation where you can explore and just to append this humanity to anything, with any style, and it's going to empathize. And this is what happened in my short film. What I did is just take the demo assets that Unreal Engine is providing just for testing, and I just append feelings in there. So this appending of feelings depended heavily in one element. That was the body language. Just that. So the way I got that was through using animation that I was grabbing from other people that were providing me, and I was even buying a few cycles of animation or bits and pieces, because what I wanted is just to create an emotion with this mannequin money, as they call it. It was super cool how to give this soul to the character. And to give soul, in Latin, the soul is called anima. So the anima, the act of putting a soul, to give an anima to anything, is to animate. Just to give this animation. But I'm going to confess, I'm not an animation expert. I'm not an animator at all. I always wanted to be an animator. That was my first instinct as an artist when I was a child. I wanted to be an animator, but then I started and I realized that I don't have the patience for that. For me, animators are like the highest level of artistry in the world. I really admire that. But even through that, the kind of animation that I wanted was like the most difficult thing you can achieve as a visual effects artist, which is naturalism. Just to look like, yeah, normal. Something like what happens when you are steady. Because being steady is not being frozen. Idle is actually a lot of micro movements. So when I started entering into that path, into exploring animation, I realized that I really love the animation. And that was the moment that I entered in contact with a friend of mine, Alex Kong, that he provided the services for motion capture for another short film that I am crafting that is taking me my free time. I don't have much free time. I don't have a life right now. The thing is, like, I was working with him. I was just like my head explode because I was directing him. He was in Canada and I was in Italy in that time. I was directing him through Zoom, and he was capturing the movement as we speak in front of the camera on Zoom in the other side of the planet. And just like, two friends talking, and he was capturing and sharing the screen so I can see very clear the result of the animation. And what blew my mind is like the animation just out of the box of while he was capturing was flawless. Of course, you can improve things if you want to modify, but the thing is, like, strictly as a director, talking to an actor, you are getting out of the box 99% of what you need, even just idling. But what really impressed me was the fact that he was just super chill. He was, before the call, he synchronized everything, he calibrated the suit, and then during the call, we were just doing a session. So in 1 hour, I got plenty of takes, plenty of everything. And it was just as simple as drag and drop into Unreal Engine into the character. And that time, I was working with the metahumans, not with the mannequin. Even if they asked me to do like a series about the mannequin, but no, I can't. So the thing is, like, it was so easy, but not easy in the sense of the technique. It was easy to think and to transmit and to get. So it was feeling really like a set. When you put your camera, you press rec, you get the world in front of your lenses, you put it in the can, and that's it. So it was pretty similar to that. So that was a moment of awakening for me. Because, yeah, of course, I heard about the Xsens suit like many years ago, and I know that is like top notch of the industry. But yeah, of course, the price is not something that I was considering cost effective at the time. But I was wrong, because when I got the suit, because when I realized that I got the suit, and that was an investment that worth, just in the first job, it worth the money that it got. because the first job that I used it was for the film that is going to get released in a few weeks on the 21st of November. It's a film that was written by Federico Fellini in 1949. It's a script that got lost and retrieved a few years ago. Long story short, the Academy Award director Gabriele Salvatore got the script, but the script was heavily based in visual effects, even for the time, which is the reason why Federico Fellini didn't execute the film in the first place, because it was so complicated. Well, you have no idea how just one single Xsens suit saved me, seriously, thousands and thousands of dollars just in replicating extras. So what I did is just scanning the extras that we had on set, because by the budget we have, even if it's maybe one of the biggest productions ever produced in Italy, the amount of crowd we needed was impossible just to gather in a set, but for any production, because we needed to populate New York in 1949. So it is impossible to get that level of people in the streets. We got something like, maybe the highest number we got on set was something like 200 people. But even 200 extras, which is a lot of people, if you put it in a street in a wide shot, it's just very tiny. It's just not going to cover. So what we did was taking these people, scanning the people, randomizing them in 3D. I was even able to use Unreal to Perez, just to lay out the people. And Larisa Zhurubaliova, which is the visual effects supervisor associate, she was capturing the movements for the people, just random movements that can be idling, smoking, walking, running, walking the dog, or chasing or delivering the post. So she did everything alone. I mean, I was just providing a list of directions, but then she was adding more and more and feeding those cycles of animation and the sequence of animations to the company that was executing the biggest shots of the movie, that is Cicero in Serbia. It is really amazing, because it took, I think it was a morning, just to create the cycle of animation that randomized and combined for thousands of people. So just by creating a little algorithm to randomize the cycles of animation with the people and just placing the people on the streets, we were able to handpick what we wanted on every single shot. So it was not procedural, it was, composed. So we were composing the frame depending on what we want, what the dynamics that we wanted to achieve, how far, how close. And everything started with that. Started with me just getting in touch with the mannequin at Unreal Engine, because faces, character animation, when you do a close-up, that for me is the most difficult thing ever. And when you see Avatar, I just cry just to see how beautiful it is, the animation. But I also believe you don't need to get that close-up in order to get humanity from those virtual people, virtual crowds, or anything that is going to move. So the act of putting the soul inside that, even when it's afar, it is amazing how to transfer the soul from someone. It seems like I'm stealing the soul of an artist, but no, you are sharing your soul. So it's not giving soul to a character, but it's sharing your soul with a CG character. And I think that is beautiful. So being able to create all of that in a budget, because as I said, the Napoli, New York, which is the name of the film, Yeah, it is a big budget movie for Italy, but you cannot compare that with, I don't know, The Avengers, for instance. It just makes no sense. But I always believed that limitations is what is going to constrain you to be creative, not to be lazy and just to use the easiest way to achieve something. But by having constrictions, you are just going to be forced to use a smart solution. So I don't believe there are low-cost visual effects, but I believe in cost-effective. And sometimes an investment like a key piece of technology like the Xsens suit, or I don't know, a new license, or little pieces that are going to act like the turning point where everything is going to revolve about. So with this, what I'm telling you is like, for filmmakers, especially if you are into animation and you want to explore and to create the new way of storytelling, I highly recommend the Xsens suit because it's so immediate. And for me, I mean, really, I'm just waiting for an excuse to use it because it's super, super cool. You can produce so much. It's so easy. So give it a try. If you haven't, I guess, there are many events that you can go and see demonstrations, and you will see. It's immediate. This is what I wanted to share with you. It's like this short film that I showed in the beginning. It took me 36 hours to be completed end to end. So I started just by exploring, and by the time I found the key is where I found, in consequence, my voice as an artist. So if you want to watch the movie, The Third Person is for free on Vimeo. If it happens that you are in Italy by the end of the month, you can watch Napoli, New York, or Naples to New York, by Academy Award director Gabriele Salvatore. It's going to be released on the 21st of November in Italy, hopefully soon in the rest of the world. In there you are going to see, and every time you are going to see CG people that hopefully you are not going to notice because there are real people with CG people, but again, effects are not meant to be seen. But every time you are going to see people walking, just remember that maybe that little person was made in a morning by a girl in front of her computer, just creating cycles of animation alone. So I hope this helps. I can't wait to see your creations online. So until the next time, this has been Victor Perez. Take care.
Wow, that's it. We came to an end. So what can I say? Thank you all for joining us today. We are incredibly grateful to have such a fantastic lineup of speakers who shared their insights and expertise. And of course, a big thank you to each of you for participating at the MCCC. Niels, is there something that you would like to add?
Thanks for watching, everyone. Please feel free to contact us if you have any cool ideas or just want to talk about anything we discussed. I'd be happy to go into conversation with any of you. So let me know if you got any cool plans, and have a good day.
Thank you, Niels. So if you have further questions or you would like to connect after the event, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at sales@movella.com. We love to hear from you. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you at future events. Take care. Bye-bye.